Well, most shows lose their charm over time. The Amazing World of Gumball defied the odds of falling off after the early seasons. Instead, as time went on, Gumball just kept getting better and better, never losing what made it so good in the first place. So, what kept Gumball from following the typical downward trend of other shows, like SpongeBob or Family Guy? Well, today, we're gonna look at the 6 main reasons why Gumball never got bad, and how it pulled off one of the most remarkable runs in cartoon history. One of the biggest reasons for Gumball's success has to be its characters. Every great show has a cast that either makes it or breaks it, and in Gumball's case, the characters are a huge part of what makes it so loved. Sure, there are a few characters that are hated for being annoying or downright evil, but the main cast of 5 in the Watterson family more than makes up for it. Gumball is the main troublemaker. He turns simple things into total chaos, but that's what makes him so fun. Darwin is his best friend and brother who is always kind and caring, always there to help. Anais is the youngest and super smart, but she can still act like a kid sometimes. Nicole is the strong and caring mom who keeps everyone in line. And Richard is the silly dad who acts like a complete idiot. There's even a time that Richard reviewed a calculator like it was a literal video game. This clip is literally peak Gumball. I don't care what you say.
Okay, hi, this week I'm reviewing this game I found was part of my computer. Okay, so I'm just loading up the game now. Okay, it's called Calculator.
However, the Amazing World of Gumball is much more than just the Wattersons. Some of the most bizarre characters you'll ever see in a cartoon will be found throughout the town of Elmore. Every character in Elmore is totally weird in their own way, but that's what makes Gumball, you know, Gumball. I mean, you got a talking banana, a talking chin, a giant T-Rex, and many more odd characters in the world of Gumball. All of them play a role in the show, either helping Gumball or doing the complete opposite. You have Penny, who is always there to support Gumball, and then there's Tobias, who usually appears as a friend of Gumball, but can also play an antagonist role at times. With such a weird mix of characters, the show never feels like it's repeating itself. There's always something new, either an unexpected interaction or a storyline featuring all kinds of different personalities. That's a big reason why the Amazing World of Gumball never gets old. They could have just stuck to the usual formula like most other shows, focusing on mainly the family and a few main characters, but instead they took minor characters and actually gave them the chance to star in full episodes. And we see this in multiple episodes, such as the shippening, using Sarah's weird fanfiction to ship characters in Elmore. Or take the episode The Extras, where background characters finally get the spotlight, showing just how much depth and personality even the smallest roles can have. Every character got their time to shine, and that's what makes Elmore feel so alive. But speaking of characters, one of the big reasons Gumball never lost its charm is because of how much the characters actually grow. The Amazing World of Gumball has always been praised for its jokes or animation, but something that's totally overlooked is the character development. The problem with most shows is that the main character can't evolve, and this often makes the series feel formulaic. When the main character remains the same from episode to episode, there's no real growth or change, and because of this, the audience may lose interest because there's nothing new to explore. I mean, if I had a favorite character and they don't show any growth throughout the series, I would eventually dislike the show for not trying to improve it over time. However, Gumball avoids this problem by letting its characters, particularly Gumball, develop throughout the series. For example, Gumball starts off as kind of the loser and is just the main punching bag of most episodes. But as the series goes on, Gumball starts to gain more confidence and mature a bit, even going as far as gaining a deeper voice. He's not the punching bag anymore, and we don't see him get bullied like he used to. He goes from being this awkward troublemaker to some people genuinely liking to hang out with him. That's why a lot of fans love his character. He's not just a one-dimensional troublemaker, he's a complex character who learns, adapts, and grows throughout the series. But it's not just about Gumball growing. Darwin, Anais, Nicole, and even Richard have their own stories of development too. Each of them goes through their own challenges and growth, which keeps the audience engaged and invested in their journeys as much as Gumball's. shows. However, as much as the characters play a huge role in Gumball, the next reason why Gumball is so loved is for its great animation. In season 1, the animation wasn't anything too crazy or next level, but after the show started experimenting with different styles and techniques, it really showed how creatively they can use different animation to tell a story. Originally, the animation was handled by a company called Studio Soy, which gave the first season a more traditional yet charmingly simple look. But as the show continued, so did its visuals. By the time the later seasons rolled around, Gumball's animation was taken over completely by Bulldog Studios, known for pushing boundaries in animation. This shift allowed the show to experiment with 2D, 3D, and live action, creating these visuals that helped define Gumball and its unique style. The change in animation really highlighted the show's evolution, and the difference in quality is clear. The bold approach to animation became one of Gumball's defining features, making it stand out not just as a funny show, but one that was visually dynamic and ever evolving. While the main characters like Gumball and Darwin are traditionally rendered in 2D, they also appear in multiple different animation styles with no limits. I think a great example of this is in the episode The Fury, in which the creators use an anime art style to show Nicole and Yuki's rivalry. Yeah, this episode was intense. The budget must have gone way over what they planned. The creators don't limit themselves to just one animation style, but instead embrace multiple styles. Even with all the challenge that comes with blending them into the show, this approach not only keeps the series visually fresh, but also adds a layer of depth and creativity that audiences love. By mixing all kinds of animation styles, the show keeps things exciting and unpredictable. It's the kind of thing that grabs your attention, whether you're a kid or an adult. This thoughtful integration of different animation techniques not only sets Gumball apart from other animated series, but also shows how the animation can be used in all kinds of creative ways to tell a story. But another thing that makes Gumball so good is the voice actors. Instead of going down the usual route of hiring professional adult voice actors, the creators decided to cast real kids to voice the main characters. I mean, not to say the kids were completely inexperienced, they were also voice actors, but they were obviously still very young. Gumball has been voiced by Nicholas Cantu, Jacob Hopkins, and Logan Grove over the years, and each of them brought that perfect mix of mischief and charm that makes him so lovable. You can almost hear the energy and emotion in their voices, which makes Gumball sound just like a real kid. In this interview about auditioning for Gumball, apparently Jacob didn't even try to voice Gumball, because that was just his natural voice at the time.
I sounded a lot like him, and when he yelled, when I yell, I have like a raspiness just like him.
Which means if you were to meet him in person, you would basically meet Gumball in real life. But it wasn't just Gumball who got such great voice acting. Darwin's voice is just as important. Real kids were casted to voice both Gumball and Darwin. The voices behind our favorite talking fish are Donnell Hansley Jr., Terrell Ransom Jr., Kwesi Bauche, and Christian J. Simon. Each of these actors brought their own special touch to Darwin, giving him that kind, genuine voice we all love. Not only did these kids have talent in voice acting, but their singing was another big factor. When I tell you these kids could sing, they could sing.
Your smile answers my silent scream. Your photo on the screen. Goodbye. My face will be too mangled to identify.
You could say their singing is amazing. Anyways, you can totally see that the voice actors for Gumball and Darwin weren't just voicing Gumball and Darwin. They were Gumball and Darwin. That kind of identity had a huge effect, and it's the reason why Gumball never really fell off. What could have been a gigantic roadblock, casting new voice actors, turned out to be something the show did really fun in a creative way. They leaned into it, used it for jokes, songs, and even made whole episodes like The Kids about changing voice actors. Although I only talked about Gumball and Darwin, the voice acting in The Amazing World of Gumball goes far beyond just those two. Everyone behind the voices of the show played their part and brought the entire world to life. But of course, voice acting is only half of what it takes to make Gumball such an incredible show. As crucial as it is to have someone good voicing Gumball and Darwin, the jokes and story in the episodes wouldn't hit nearly as hard without the writing. Every cartoon has its own sense of humor. Family Guy with those random cutaway gags, and South Park with that really dark and edgy humor. Each show has their own way to tell jokes and stories, and Gumball is one that doesn't miss. The humor in Gumball can be enjoyed by anyone. If you're an innocent kid, you wouldn't even realize some of the dark jokes in the show. Some of Gumball's best jokes are the ones you wouldn't notice the first time around. When you're a kid, you don't notice these things at first, but then when you watch them again when you're older, you're suddenly catching all these references and dark jokes that totally went over your head before. No matter how old you are, you'll never really outgrow Gumball. You'll just start to see more of what makes it brilliant. One of the coolest things about the show is how self-aware it is. The show knows it's a cartoon and leans into that in the funniest ways possible. Like in the tape where the characters mess with their own timeline using a remote control, skipping ahead and rewinding like it's totally normal. Or in the Copycats where they roast a Chinese ripoff of Gumball.
Be your own you.
Try something new.
Find your own things to do. Get in your stupid car and don't come back.
They'll switch up the animation mid-scene, break the fourth wall out of nowhere, and even joke about Cartoon Network itself, all without feeling out of place. In pretty much any other show, that kind of stuff would feel like it's trying way too hard, as it's the only joke they could come up with. But in Gumball, it just somehow works. I guess it's because in the world of Gumball, it's not really forced upon you. The writing is smart and weird in the best way, but it never feels like it's trying to prove anything. You can tell that the writers are just having fun with it, throwing out the wildest ideas and seeing how far they can push the joke without breaking the show. And honestly, that's what makes Gumball so great. It feels like the writers know what Gumball is, but don't want to push it any further than it needs to go. They let the show be weird, self-aware, and chaotic without overdoing it and making it feel forced. And the final reason why Gumball Never Got Bad is because of its strong community. From fans to the creators, the show has always been a dedicated group of people who appreciate its unique blend of creativity. The fan base is incredibly passionate through art, memes, and discussions, which keeps the spirit of the series alive even after the last season aired in 2019. The support for Gumball has never stopped, and seems to keep going from here. There is a ton of content out there. Whether it's deep dives into the show's themes, fan art, or remixes, people are constantly keeping the conversation going. Heck, even here on this channel, we love Gumball, and that's why I make videos about it. And if it wasn't for your guys' support, I wouldn't be able to talk about Gumball as much as I want to. So, thank you. Because fans still support the show, a spin-off, season 7, and even a movie have been in the works. The fact that fans are still so interested in the show just shows how much the characters and stories really connect people. Gumball isn't just another show that aired. It became a part of pop culture that will probably be loved for years to come. The bond between the show and its community is something special, going beyond the show itself. Now, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell, because I'll be here to cover everything Gumball related coming this year and much more.